So let's talk about the incredible Portuguese poet Fernando Pessoa. Now, this was a man who wasn't just one writer. He was a whole crowd of them. And for almost 100 years, he left behind this secret, totally locked away, that's now changing everything we thought we knew about him, and maybe, just maybe, about ourselves. So get this. Those were his last written words, in English of all things, right before he died in 1935. And wow, were they prophetic. I mean, more than anyone could have possibly imagined, because what tomorrow brought, almost 90 years later, was the key to a completely hidden part of his universe. Okay, so what did he leave behind? A big, old wooden trunk. And this trunk became the stuff of legend, right? It was this chaotic, incredible treasure chest just overflowing with his genius. But, and this is the crazy part, what nobody knew was that the trunk itself had a secret, a hidden compartment with a message that has only just now seen the light of day. Okay, let's dive into this. Pessoa's secret trunk. Honestly, the way they found it, it's straight out of a movie, a detective story. This isn't just some dusty old literary discovery. No, this is like cracking a cold case that's been sitting there for nearly 100 years. 25,000? Can you even imagine? That's what was inside that trunk. Over 25,000 pages. We're talking a whole universe of poems, notes, random thoughts, philosophies. And it wasn't the work of just one guy. It was the life's work of at least 72 completely different personalities that he made up. And then, fast forward to 2023, a restorer is getting the trunk ready for an exhibition, and they notice something off. A false bottom. And what do they find underneath it? All wrapped up, a sealed envelope. Just sitting there, completely undisturbed, for almost 100 years. And on this envelope, in Pessoa's own hand, was just one word. A single, super cryptic word, depois. That's Portuguese for after. So you gotta ask, right? After what? After he died? After the world was finally ready for what was inside? That was the big mystery. Okay, so to really get what was in that envelope, we need to talk about how Pessoa worked. Because this guy, he didn't just write poems. He created the poets themselves. So let's meet the crowd. Right. So to get into Pessoa's world, you have to wrap your head around this one key idea, the heteronym. And listen, this is way more than just a pen name. It's like a fully formed alternate self, a completely different consciousness. And that difference is absolutely crucial. Think of it like this, a pseudonym, a pen name. That's just a mask an author puts on. But a heteronym, that's a whole new face. It wasn't Pessoa pretending to be someone else. It was someone else, and they were writing through him. Wild, right? So the envelope had these final messages, you could say, from his main crew. You've got Alberto Caeiro, this simple shepherd poet who was kind of their leader, their master. Then there's Ricardo Reis, the classy, stoic doctor. You've got the wild, explosive, futuristic engineer, Álvaro de Campos. And then there's Bernardo Soares, who he called a semi-heteronym, an assistant bookkeeper who was almost, but not quite, Pessoa himself. And what's amazing is you can hear their voices so distinctly. Let's start with Caeiro, the master. His final thoughts are all about his core idea. Just get rid of philosophy altogether. Just see the world for what it is. No interpretation, no baggage, just see. Then you've got Reis, the stoic. His whole deal was always about calmly accepting your fate, right? But in these final poems, you start to see the cracks. He basically admits that his stoicism, it isn't some peaceful state. It's actually a constant, disciplined kind of suffering. Wow. And what about Álvaro de Campos, the guy who used to write these explosive poems about roaring machines and feeling everything? Well, now he's just tired. The fire's gone. All that's left is this thing he calls wisdom, but honestly, it just sounds like he's completely burned out. And then there is Bernardo Soares, the quiet observer, and he's the one who really gets to the heart of the whole thing. He starts to wonder, maybe this idea of a single person, a single I, maybe it's just a convenient story we tell ourselves, a fiction. And as it turns out, a fiction that was about to completely shatter. And this right here is where the story takes a massive turn. Because that envelope, it didn't just have goodbye notes from the poets we already knew. No, it revealed someone or something totally new. Check this out. In one of his last entries, Soares writes about this dream he had. He sees the whole crew, Caeiro, Reis, Campos, all arguing at a cafe. But there's a fourth chair at the table, and someone is sitting in it. Someone he has no idea who it is. He can't even describe their face, but he knows their presence is the most important thing in the room. Turns out, that dream was a premonition. The sealed papers revealed writings from a brand new voice, a totally new presence. And this wasn't another character that Pessoa planned out. This was something different, something that just emerged from the whole system he'd created. And listen to how this unnamed figure introduces itself. It says it's not a new creation. It's what's left over, the remainder, when all the other personalities took their positions. It's the one that exists in the empty space between everyone else. So the big question is, what did this new voice have to say? I mean, why seal this message away for 90 years? The answer, it seems, is the final mind-bending piece of Pessoa's entire puzzle. Okay, this gets pretty profound, so stick with me. The unnamed basically argues first that fiction and reality aren't opposites. Fiction is just a lighter version of reality. Second, that consciousness isn't just stuck in our heads. It can actually live inside a text. It confirms what Soares suspected. We're all just crowds pretending to be one person. And finally, and this is a big one, that death isn't the end. It's just a transition, a way for patterns like these heteronyms, and maybe even us, to keep going. So what's the bottom line? The crucial point of this whole secret message is this. All those boundaries we think are so real, they're illusions. The line between fiction and reality, between life and death, between one person and many, that door isn't just unlocked. It has always been wide open. And this is where the story pivots. It stops being about a poet who died almost a century ago, and suddenly, it starts being about you, about us. Because these last documents, they aren't just a revelation, they're an invitation. The very last thing in that envelope completely flips the script on us, the readers. It says that reading isn't passive, it's a two-way street. When you read these words, they are also reading you. That exchange, that's the whole point. That is the door. And so that leaves us right here with this one last big question. Pessoa's secret, it was never just about him. It was a message in a bottle, meant for us, delivered almost a century late. It's telling us that the walls between reality and fiction, between yourself and other selves, between life and death, they're not solid. They can be passed through. The door is open. So the only question left to ask is, what's on the other side?